and we are good to go.
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello everyone. I apologize for this delay as there was a power outage in the area. In fact, a network outage in my area, and hence the entire area's network was down and I couldn't log into this. So really sorry for this. There were some infrastructure issues going on here. Hence there is a delay. Is everyone able to hear me and can see my screen? Yes, Shiva, that's right. Thanks, Sanjay. Okay. We'll continue with whatever we have been discussing yesterday on the program. So there was a request that can we run one of the programs using RDDs in Scala, and can we run it through Eclipse, create a jar, and then execute it on the Hadoop cluster or a Spark cluster. And that is what we'll be seeing. How do we achieve that? So just give me a minute. Let me just do that. Okay, so the Eclipse that we have started using yesterday, that is the same Eclipse that I'm going to use today. Okay, and we'll be creating a new project first of all. So let me create a new Scala project because we want to understand how do we write RDDs here. Okay, I'll be creating a new Scala class. Word count demo is what we can use for this. In fact, I don't really need an class here. I can directly use object. Okay. So what we'll be doing is, this is a Eclipse which is outside my Spark cluster. Okay. As we have understood yesterday, we have downloaded this Eclipse which is outside my Spark cluster, and I want to create a jar by using this program. I will create a jar here. I'll go here and then execute a jar in the Spark cluster. So let us see that demo, and so that we'll be able to understand how do we achieve that. So I'll be first creating the Spark context. As you all know, definitely need to create a Spark context here. So first thing is I need to create a Spark configuration object. Okay, so looks like it is not able to show us the important methods. Why? Because as you can see, it says I don't really recognize what is this type, not found type. Okay, so it is not able to really find the type, and for that we need to really import certain libraries. So let me go ahead and import the library. I'll go to the build path, configure build path, and then I'll say add external jars. I will basically import one of the library called Spark Assembly. So by the way, you can directly download Spark from Apache Spark website, and from there you can actually, once you untar that, you should have a basically it will be something like this. When you unzip that, you will have the folders which contains all these folders. One of the folder is lib. Inside lib, I'll be having certain libraries. So one of them is Spark Assembly. This is what I need actually. I'll just say OK. So once I do that, I should be able to import that class. As you can see, it now understands that which Spark configuration I'm referring to. Okay. Now once you create this, you can also do this. Spark context is what you need to create, or you can just say SC. So Manoj, we have actually, okay, let me show you that as well. Just give me 1 second. As you can see here, I'll be copy pasting this URL here to everyone so that you all can use this. When you do Spark download, right, this is the option which comes. Choose the version which you want. Okay, choose the package type. I would prefer pre-built for Hadoop 2.6 and later, right? More stable versions. Others are still in a beta stage. And then just select direct download. Once you do that, and then you just say download Spark. Once you click on this, it will download that TGZ file, which you can unzip it, and then you should be able to see those directories under which you will have a lib folder which will have that Spark assembly jar. Okay, if you really want to get access to the Spark assembly jar, this is how you can do it. Or I can email you, but it's better that you download this so that you will have that jar available with you. Is that clear? Okay, so let me continue. Now we need to basically create a Spark context by passing Spark configuration object. Okay. So we are good with this. Now it's the same Java program, same Scala program that we used to do in for word count. So we'll be just doing that text file is equals to sc dot text file path and this is my SDFS path because I'm going to actually process the data from SDFS, and I already showed you how to access SDFS URL. If you don't know, let me show you that here. We'll do which Hadoop. Okay, when you want to see where your SDFS is running, you can just do which Hadoop and then go to this location, user bin Hadoop. Just do cat. When we do that, this is the path which it says that from where it is going to execute all the Hadoop libraries. So we need to go to this place where Hadoop configuration file will be available. So under this etc Hadoop. Okay. Under this location, there will be a library. In your Hadoop training, this should have been covered. So core site.xml should have this address. This is the address which I was talking about. Okay, so that will help you to access the data from the SDFS. From that point, I need to process the data which is stored in SDFS, and I would have stored, let's say, certain files. For example, this words file, I have stored it in SDFS. We all know how to go to the SDFS and browse SDFS. So I'm going to the browse file system. Under data, I'll have a fruits file, as you can see here. So that is what I want to process. So I'll just write here data/fruits. Okay. Once I do that, I need to basically now write words. So I'll just say L of words. You all know that we used to call flat map function, right? So the flat map will basically put a certain parameters. It is like for every line I want to do this x dot split based on comma, right? It extracts the words, and then I want to call, once you split that, I want to call a map function to transform every word into the, for each word I want to transform it into the word comma 1. Okay, that's the par RDD I'll be creating, and then at the end I will also do reduce by key. Reduce by key, I'll just sum it up. So Dipto, the RDD's internal elements are immutable, but RDD can refer that object can refer to any other object. So it's fine to have where here. Okay, internal objects are immutable, so it doesn't really affect if you define it as where or where. Is that clear, Dipto? Oh, I already have reduced by key, no? So the same thing I can save it. I'll just say save as text file, and I'll give the file path. This is my file path. I'm going to, let's say, create a folder called sc RDD out, Scala RDD out. Not really, Dipto. Each RDD will have collection of objects, right? So those objects are immutable. You can't change any values for those objects. But entire, see, the thing is, just give me 1 second. Let me explain that. For example, let's say this is my RDD which has object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4, right? Now, when you define, let's say this RDD type is, let's say, words, you are referring a variable name as words. So if I define where words and if I define val words, what is the difference? If you define where means it is changeable. So still the object inside these words, which means these objects are not, you can't change them. RDD is immutable, but if I have another RDD, for example, which will have certain other objects, I can point these words to refer to this RDD. So the reference can be changed. But for example, if I define it as well words, I can't do it. There is no reference changing also can happen. Is that clear now? Sure. Yeah. Okay. So as we all know, as per our MathReduce program that we have done on word count. In fact, the Scala program itself that we have done on word count. The same way we can do it here. It's just a continuous chain of transformation, flat map, then map to, it's a pair RDD. We are creating a pair RDD, then we are calling reduce by key on the pair RDD to sum all the values for the same key. Once you get that data, that is my final result, which I am saving it as a file in the folder, which is a new folder that should be created under SDFS. Okay, so this is my program with RDD that I have written in Eclipse, as a Scala program. Now the most important part is the reference library which I have included, right? That and the Scala jar that you are expecting, it's not really compatible. So what you need to do is, here you can see there is some error. So I need to build this project by changing the Scala compiler from 2.11 to 2.10 onwards. The latest 2.11 does not support the Spark APIs that we have included. Okay, so we need to change this compiler to 2.10, and now if I do OK, it should be able to work fine. It should be able to resolve that error. Okay, so you can see that the error is gone. Now my Scala project is perfectly compiled. Okay, I can directly create a jar. How do you create a jar? It's same as Java, export as jar, because in Scala also you need to create a jar only. And then let's say I will excuse me, I'll say Scala.jar. Okay, I'll finish it. I need to basically put it in the virtual box, that particular jar. So what you should be doing is, no Raj, it doesn't need to be the same as object name. Okay, all right, before I move forward, is everyone clear as of now? Any questions on this program that I have written or the libraries that I have included here? Please let me know. So Raj, in Scala, even if you have class, as I told you yesterday also, that we need to write an object so that your program can be executed. So without class also you should have one object at least. Then it will work fine. No, Swadeep, this is the way to write Scala programs. Basically, we create first Scala project, then we have created one Scala class, then we have used these statements inside that. Okay, what we did after that we basically imported certain libraries because I was using some Spark. Please understand one thing, Spark and Scala are two different things, right? So Spark, whatever I'm using for Spark APIs, Scala doesn't understand that. You need to first import those libraries, and I have imported Spark assembly jar here. And then I have built this project, and now I'm going to export it. So once my project is ready, I need to export it as a jar, right? Which I can execute it on the Spark cluster. Are you saying here new? Oh, this is so Swadeep. This is just like, okay. Have you used? Is this the first time you are using Eclipse? These are like, basically different class package, just like Java Eclipse. Right. So if you want to create an interface, you use Straight. If you want to create a Scala class, any new Scala program you want to use directly, you can create a class, or you can create an object. If you don't want any class directly, you can create an object. Package is package. I mean, to basically group all your Scala classes in the one folder. And then project means entire project that you create, under which you will have multiple packages, under which you will have multiple classes which contains your Scala code. Okay. So there are, and then file, folder, all these things you can create inside this. So basically, yes, Swadeep, yeah, that's right. Okay. So what we can do is I mean, I'll give you some time. You all should practice this because it is important to do this by yourself first. Because once you do this practice, right, it will give you good confidence on how to execute, how to create a Scala program that RDD using Spark RDDs and all, and how to create a jar, how to take it to the Spark cluster and then execute it. That completes one cycle. So if you do that, it will really give you good confidence on how do we execute that, right? Because earlier classes we were doing everything in Java using the Eclipse, and then we were doing it in-house in the same cluster. But right now I'm showing you mostly a real, development environment that you would have in any company, where you have your own Scala ID or Scala, let's say Eclipse, which is installed in your machine. The Spark cluster might be running somewhere else. So you will first take your jar, put it in the Spark cluster, and then execute it, right? So that's the experience we are going to show you here. So I'm going to create a Spark Scala jar, which is already created. I'll show you that, Manoj. Okay, so let's do one thing. Hold on to your questions. Just first understand what I'm doing. So as of now, as far as forget about Spark Assembly, I'll tell you how to download this. But apart from that, any questions on this Scala code? And any questions? I have already created a jar for this. So any question till this point, apart from this? All right, cool. So now I'll go to the go to my virtual box, and I need to basically use that virtual box to get it done. So I should be able to do something like this: drag and drop bidirectional. As you can see here, the drag and drop option should be bidirectional. I mean, you can use FileZilla or WinSCP kind of softwares to copy the files from local file system to this Cloudera VM, which is a CentOS Linux-based operating system. But if you can directly do this way, drag and drop, so that what happens is the jar which I have created, okay, I should be able to directly drag and drop. So as you can see here, I have these two windows. One is this Explorer, one is this Eclipse. So I'm actually going to copy this Scala jar here. And that is copied directly. I have drag and drop. So that has come here. Okay. I can directly put it in the Cloudera home. So now if I go back to my Cloudera home, okay, I should be able to see the Scala jar. So I already have a Scala jar. I can directly execute my program, right? So I'll just do this. Spark submit. You all know how to execute a program. Now this is where when you define a class, you need to define your object actually, which will basically contain your main method. So when you say extends app, it will automatically have a main method. So this is what you need to do, and then your Scala jar. That's it. The input and output path location, I have already hard coded it in the program itself. You can also pass it as an argument, it's fine, but I have hard coded it here itself. So I should be able to see the output here, Scala RDD output, and it is taking an input as fruit file from the SDFS. So let me do that. Let me execute this and let's see the output first. So it is done now. I can just go ahead and check the output. Scala, what was the output folder? Scala RDD out. So now I should be able to see. Not really, Deepak. You can drag and drop if the Eclipse is outside Cloudera also. You can drag and drop file from any, any location which may be your local file system of your machine, Windows machine, to the Cloudera machine. That's why we use that drag and drop, because Cloudera machine you will not have access to the local file system which you have in Windows, right? That's where we use like drag and drop to make your files available there. Is that clear, Deepak? Okay, so this is where you have words and the count of the words available here. Okay, is this part clear, everyone? So Swadip, this is what you were asking yesterday. So are you clear now how to do this end-to-end thing? Okay, great. And how about everyone else? Just wanted to make sure that if everyone is on the same page. If you have any question, please let me know. This is important so that it helps you in the development environment. Sure, Gagan. So if you really want to understand how to pass on arguments, right, just do this. If you just write main and do this, right, you will basically need to write your code here. Right. So what happens is, this is your main method. This is where your arguments is there. So I can do args of 0 and args of 1 here. Okay. So you can override a main method like this. Just type main and then control space. It will automatically come. Instead of doing extends app. If you do extends app also, you will have this argument array, by the way. Okay. I can just do extends app and still I can use arguments of 0 and 1 here. That is absolutely fine. Okay, any further questions? Yes, Dipto, that is possible, of course. No, I mean that is like depends on what context you are going to pass that number of threads or cores. I mean it is, I'll be passing it as one of the argument and I'll be saying argument of 0 or 1 or 2 as the number of thread. But then how are you using that thread in your program depends on your business logic, right? Yes, Dipto. So there is a Spark configuration file. So we actually cover it in Spark admin mostly, but yes, there is one configuration file available where you define those properties. Not programmatically, but you define it that property there so that all applications will use that core. Sure, Manoj. I'll show you how to add a Spark assembly jar again. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so this is a Spark a page that we have actually uh, used. Basically, it's a Spark download URL. I have already sent it in the chat window. You can just see that. It gives you the download Spark version. So basically, you can download the entire Spark installation. Okay, and these are the options you need to select. So you can select the latest versions or 1.5.2 is the version for 2.6 or later, and then select the direct download. After that you will get this options. Select this tgz file. You need to unzip it. Basically, once you unzip it, under that folder you will have one lib directory which will contain Spark assembly jar. Okay, so you will keep it somewhere in your local file system. Then you go to this project, and when you want to import it, just do this: right click, go to the build path, configure build path, okay, and say add external jar. So I will go to the place where I have actually unzipped that Spark folder, go to the lib, and then I'll select this. So it basically opens that and just say okay. Okay. Yeah, Aditya, that's right. There are a lot of stuff actually available in big data. So there'll be definitely a lot more stuff available. Okay, any further questions anybody has here? Sudeep, you can ask questions. I'll see if it is really important to answer it right now. Not really, Sudeep. So we don't do that way. We actually cover all the topics in the entire training. The project is something which you guys need to do it after the training. That's the policy, and we don't really change that. So you will basically be given, in fact, the help from the Simply Learn team, right? Once the training is over, you need to work on the project. And by the way, the project which is there for Spark, right? There is only one project, and I have already covered that in Java. You already have that joint projects for movies and all. The same project is there, just that you need to do it on Spark SQL. So you will have that, yes, in your LMS. That project PDF is there. So in fact, you have already gone through the entire details of how to do it in Java, just that you need to convert it into SQL, which is more easier than writing it in Java. So you could do it by yourself only, but in case if you really want to, do and take some help after the training only, you are supposed to work on that. So you will get a dedicated support from Simply Learn team. There is a team, Simply Learn support team available who will guide you in case if you get stuck with some project. All right. All right, cool. So that's about the RDD one that we wanted to discuss. Just give me a minute. Let me open another thing. By the way, do you all want to try this example? It's a good exercise, end-to-end exercise that you can achieve here if you really want to achieve that. Yes, surely, Sudeep. So I keep it that way. So I basically, we have good time available where we can complete everything. Just wanted to make sure that people have hands-on also in the session. I normally allow people to do hands-on in the training for Spark and Scala specifically because it's new and because people can get some hands-on in the training itself so they'll have more confidence. But I leave it to everyone if you really want to do it. Otherwise, I can, show some more programs. So you let me know. You decide whether you want to do it or not, and we'll do it accordingly. Do everyone want to try this program? Okay. Sure. So I will be then doing some more examples. I'll be showing you in parallel. Sure, no problem. So let me open one more example. Let me do the example for sorting. I think this is something which I can try giving it to you before I try. Because I have already shown you the array and how to play with array. So can you guys do this? Let's do this example. It should be a small example, but let's try doing it. So it will give you good practice on Scala. You can create a new Scala class and just try sorting it. Create an array, add some values in that array, and then try to sort that array. Give the result which is a sorted array. Can we try doing that quickly? Then I'll show you how to do that. But I think that should be a good exercise for all of you. So what we are supposed to do is we can actually take an array of different names, right? String basically. Let's say array of different strings, and you can just sort them and print them in a sorted order, but using Scala. So you can have one class which will contain one sort method which accepts an array, and it basically returns an array which is a sorted array. So you can that sort method implementation is something which you need to write. And then in object, you have one class and one object. So in object, you are creating an instance of that class, create an array with some values, pass that array as an input parameter to that sort method, and then see what result comes out. Did you understand the problem statement? I want everyone to try this. This is just one Scala program, but let's do it on Eclipse so that you'll get that confidence in doing it hands-on in the Eclipse. And then I'll show you how to do it parallelly on the. I mean, I'll give you the output after this. Is everyone clear, by the way? Any questions on this problem statement? Good. So let's do that. Right. I want everyone to please do that. It's just a small program, but just try doing it. Create your own Scala project. Create a new Scala class. Start writing that class and object, and implement the sort method. And the sorting logic should be very simple. There is a method itself available called sort, which you can use to sort that. You don't really need to write entire sorting logic, but just try doing it by yourself, so you'll get understanding of how to do that. And I have shared some of the code yesterday, which also explains you how to create array, how to use array in Scala. So take reference from there. Should we do that, everyone? Anybody has any question on that? So when you're doing it, let me know if you get stuck somewhere. Please post questions if you get stuck somewhere, okay? I'm assuming everyone has started doing it. Manoj, problem statement is you define an array, put some values inside there, and then sort them. Okay. So I can also, give you this. For example, you basically define one class. Okay, I'll just give you a template code. So basically, you define a class, let's say test, which has sort method, which takes array. Okay, result it should also return array only. Here you will have to write your own logic to convert this array into sorted array. This is your class, and then you will write one object where you basically define, create an instance of this class and just say test dot sort and pass an array which you have created. So it gives you a result of an array. That is what you need to print. Are you clear? Okay. I would request everyone to just try this. Even if you don't get it, it's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that you just experience this, because I know that once the training is over, right, not many people are able to follow this. Many people are able to do this. So basically, it becomes very difficult. Not really, Swadeep. You don't need to execute it in Cloudera. This is a normal Scala program. So I just gave you this. You can do it in Scala IDE only, outside Cloudera Spark. Yeah, that's right. You can also use some other sorted algorithms, Manoj, in case you want to change, like let's say for example, quick sort. So you can do this. I'll just copy paste this in your. You can do this. This is the package under which there is a different sorting algorithms available. You can use, let's say for example, you decide to sort it using quick sort because it gives you good time complexity. Then you can do this and you can pass an array, so it will be able to sort it automatically. Not really, not really. Directly you can use it. So you need to call Raj a print function, right, to print the data. How will you print it? You have to first, you have to basically somehow do either, you can do, let's say, array dot for each and then print ln. If you type that, it should work to print all the data. Whatever is your array, just do array dot for each and then print ln. It should give you the result. After you create an object of the sorted, did you call the method which basically sorts the data and prints it? You might be missing something. Just check in your code. In your sort method, you should have, sorted and then printed it. Sure, Raj. So, yes, Raj, it works fine. That's correct. You're able to see the result, right? Okay, good. So, that works fine. Yes, anyone else who has done? Let me know if someone gets stuck somewhere. Let me know once you're done. Manoj, you can actually refer the code which is printed by Raj. He has pasted it on the all participants. Just see what is the difference in your code. He has also used the sorted method. That's why I'm actually asking you to refer that. Yes, Sudeep, what exception you are getting? Can you tell me the exception that you are getting? What is the exception? No, Sudeep, you don't get any exceptions even if you write this code. But yes, you don't get the result because it just prints the value of the. You should not say array dot sorted. It will give you the object which will be printed. You should in fact do that dot. I mean the for each println. Let me just correct the code and send you. Can you try this code in your machine, Sudeep? I've just modified a simple thing in your program. It should work. How are you executing it? Just right click and just say run as Scala. That's what you are doing, right? Run as Scala application. So it should work. The program which I have shared, it's working fine. Just try and let me know. How about others? Getting error on third line. It's not taking arguments. Just give me 1 second. Let me try that. But it's good that people are trying. I'm happy for that. Doesn't matter whether you get error or not. Manoj, your problem will be solved. It's just a minor change. The object array you have written, it should not be array. It's a default class. You can't make the object using the keyword array. You change that object name from array to something else and it will work. You can just ignore it right now, Gagan. That's not really important right now. No, Sudeep, I believe you are executing it in a wrong manner. I mean, because the same code I have printed and it worked fine. There is no issue in my Eclipse. So it looks like there is some issue that the way you are executing. Yeah, but then it should work actually. Okay, let me try the same code which you have printed again, and let me see. You have changed actually. You have modified so many things now. Earlier it was not this. What you have given me. No, I think this. Sorry. This was not your code. This is from the code from Dipto actually. So let me show my code first of all. I'm actually solving the problems for all of you, but yeah, whatever problems you're saying. So Dipto, your code is actually fine. Just that this is how you can pass the arguments. I'm just giving you a high level idea. Okay, forget about everything else. Let's say this is the code which you need to give, and all these stuffs you have written. So let's say when you return some object, right? You will have a def class. In that you will be just passing args. That's not args. Let's pass args of 0, args of 1. How do you pass a command line argument? So whatever argument you pass, that should be like index based. So r0 means first argument, args1 second argument. So like that you should pass. Then it should work. Is that clear? And also when you do run as, you need to go to this run configuration, and then you need to set that argument, because otherwise through Eclipse, if you want to run this and you want to pass arguments, command line arguments, you have to do something like this. Here you go to this arguments and let's say pass 1, and then just say apply. So that means it will be, if I just do this, for example, print a1. Let me just execute this code so that you will understand. By the way, in the same class, I can have many, object class. That is fine. So I'll show you this code, because I have written all of your code in the same. I have deleted some of them, but I have written like whatever you share me, I'm just copy pasting here and then giving you the suggestions of what was the issue. So for example, there is one object class here, there is another object class here, right? So when you want to run it as a first of all, I have, because one of my program expects an argument, I am giving argument as 1. So the same argument it will be printing here. That's it. Very simple. But I want to execute this object array1, not this test. So when you do run as Scala application, it will ask you to choose which one you want to run. Since I want to run array1, I'll click on that. So it prints that. Whatever argument I'm passing it, you can use it as it is. So is that clear, Dipto? This is how you pass command and arguments. Swadeep, are you also clear? Any question on this? Okay, so Swadeep, let me execute the same code again, which you have printed. Uh, I think this is the code which I have shared with you. After changing the fix. Okay, so this is the logic, Swadeep. Okay. This is the code which you have written. So we'll basically run it as it is. If I run this code, Scala application, pass this test one, it should sort the words as it is. So it is running fine actually. Just that you are doing x dot sorted and then you are directly printing this, but that will give you an object. So you should do assign it to some variable and then do for each println. So it will print all the values inside this array. Uh, this is the code, a very simple code that I have given you here. Raj, you can just try this. Oh, sorry. This is the one. This is what you wanted, right, Raj? I'm sorry, Raj. Do you want me to explain it again? How to pass an argument? Yeah, I have already pasted. You can see it. I have already pasted that. How to pass an argument and how to use it. So I think as you can see, so if your error, you are somewhere mentioning capital test and you are mentioning it says small test. So somewhere it's basically the exception is with respect to that object. So you need to check what you are defining here. Is there any spelling mistake? Did you do something where capital test did you write? So Dipto, you can actually just do this, right? This is like one string. I mean, you don't really need to do it this way. Yeah, so main Scala file name doesn't make any difference because as you can see here, if I let's say comment everything else here, Okay, so as you can see here, it will basically give you this, and your string should be something like this. You can just give x, y, z, whatever. So you can pass an argument like this. If you want to pass an argument as a as array of words, this will be treated as an array. You need to convert it into array and then use it. These are all programming gimmicks. Yes, any further questions, everyone? Is it done for everyone? No, Dipto, I think just try a little bit more. It should work. It's a, like, it's one string. You need to give it as an array, and then you need to do some changes here. You just said it throwing build errors. Oh, it ran. Okay. So if it works, it's good. Why did you add any lib? What were you doing exactly? Okay, maybe the latest version of Scala, the 2.10 version, 2.10 versions of Scala may not have those libraries. Maybe that is the reason. So it's a new build version, right? So depends on which build version has which libraries. You can use that. The reason why I changed it from 2.11 to 2.10 because I wanted to work on the Hadoop cluster, on the Spark cluster, which was having a Spark version, not exactly the latest version, one level older version. That's why I changed it to that, because in that Spark cluster it was expecting Scala library to be compatible with 2.10 version, not 2.11. That's why I had to see. It's like this: when you compile your program with one build version and when you run it with another build version, you are always going to get an error. Okay, so you need to make sure that whatever you compile, that version will match with whatever you are running. Okay, so those versions will have to match. That's why I have changed it to 2.10. How about others? Is everyone able to do this? Any questions anybody has? All right, so looks like everyone now got the idea what we need to do to sort the array of elements. No, Sudeep, it is a HTML only. It is not there from Simplilearn. It was one of the material that I was using. So it is an HTML only. There is no other material for that. Okay. Ideally, it should come up. Yeah, but I don't think I have that. Anyway, it was not really very much important because it's not part of your, materials. It's just an extra that I have shared. Anyway, that thing is already presented in the video recording, so you can always refer video to check that. No, I understand. I understand. I'm just saying that that video recording will also have that the material, so you can just go through it to get the idea. Because I don't remember I have any folder such kind of thing for that. So let me check if I have something like that. I will forward it. Okay, let me do that. Let me check if I can convert it into PDF. I can do that. Sorry, Sudeep, not able to convert it into PDF. I think looks like there are, yes, you are right. There are certain contents which doesn't support that. Let me check, Sudeep, offline. I'll check and see if I can do it. Okay. I'll check it offline, Sudeep, and then I'll do it. Okay. I'll see what best possible way I can share it. Cool, everyone. So I'm assuming everyone is done. Nobody is responding to any other thing. So that means everyone would have executed it. What we can do is we can take a break now. We'll come back after the break and we'll continue forward. Okay. Half an hour. If I would request you to email me that code, I'll look into it and I'll respond to you. All right. Meanwhile, let's go for a break. We'll come back and we'll continue with new topics. So see you all after the break. let's continue. So there are two more concepts left for Spark Core, which is accumulator and broadcaster. So let me first explain that. The accumulator is a concept people who have attended Hadoop training will know. Uh, we can easily understand accumulator. It is called counter basically. And remember in the training which I took for Hadoop, I have actually covered. Some of you have attended that training, so hence I just wanted to make sure that we basically would cover accumulators or counters in MapReduce. We have written custom counters to count some of the bad records available in the file. Right, that was an example we took. So counters is nothing but it will check the data quality issues. It will check how many records are bad while processing. When you are processing any particular data set, and if you come across that, okay, this particular data set will have certain records which are having issues, you want to basically log them. You want to get the count of those records, and so that you can basically later on troubleshoot that. So that is where counter will be used, and in Spark accumulators will do the same thing. Accumulators are also used to implement counters or summations of total number of records that can be processed at particular stage. So I'll be showing you an example very similar to the example that I have actually shown in the Hadoop training, which is how to write your custom counters. Here we'll be understanding how to write your custom accumulators. Okay, so let me share the Eclipse code here. We'll create a new class. So I'm going to create a class which is accumulator test. Okay, rather I can directly use an object itself. Extends app. We want to understand how do we use accumulators to process certain file in Spark to count the number of records which are bad. So I'll show you this. There is a file which I have already stored in SDFS. You can see here. Let me open a terminal to check that. Hadoop fs -cat. Under data. Let me show you the data sets available in this file. So this is the data set we have. As you can see, one of the record will have two of the record. In fact, in the see, normally it's like it's the first name, last name, and the age. That's the columns for this data set. But if you notice, one of the record will have the last column, which is not age, but it is something else, F or M, which means it is not really an age. It is kind of male or female. So ideally these are like wrong data, right? I mean, it by mistake they have put some wrong information in the values of age column, so that I can treat it as a bad record. Okay, so just a simple data set, but we want to find out how many records are bad here. Okay, that is what we want to find out using a Scala program, which we can run. This is a HDFS data, so we will write a Spark program in Scala and we will solve this problem using a concept called accumulators. All right. So is the problem statement clear with everyone? Sure, no problem. I'll repeat that. So basically, see, this is the file I have, okay? And I want to, this file will have first name, last name, and the age, three columns. I have already stored this file data in SDFS. And as you can see that two of the records in this file will have the last column, which is F or M, which is not exactly the age value, which means it doesn't really contain an integer value. It contains some character, but ideally it should be age, and that means it should have an integer value. So these two records I can say are bad records because they don't really contain the proper data. So this is what I want to find it out. And this is the SDFS data. I mean, I have stored it in SDFS, so I should write Spark program to process it. And I'll be using a concept called accumulators to do that. Is that clear now? Yes, Dipto, you had any question? Sorry, Dipto, actually, let's not work on that right now. I'm really sorry. If you can just send me an email, I'll respond to that. Okay? Because let's continue with the flow. Cool. So this is the code I have. Sorry, this is the data I have, and I want to fix the problem of finding out the total number of records as bad records. So how do you achieve that? So as I said, we'll be writing an accumulator. We'll be using an accumulator concept here. What is an accumulator? It's a concept which will be used to count the such kind of values in using Spark. So let me start writing a program for that. Okay, I should first create configuration object. So this is the basic thing. I'm creating a configuration object and a Spark context. After that, you will basically do this Spark context dot accumulator. Okay. Uh, Sorry for this. Yeah, we are creating bad records. So accumulator is basically just like initializing one variable. Okay, it will be like available for the entire Spark context, entire session. You create one variable. You basically set a counter as 0. So first I'm assigning it the counter as 0, and now what I do is basically I want to increment that as in when I find any bad records in a file. So first let me create a file RDD by reading the file. You will provide the file path. So then in this file, as you can see from my program, I will read one line at a time, right? In this RDD, every line will be part of this RDD. But then I need to split each column based on comma. So what I will do here is I will be using something like this. Basically, you can just use map transformation and just pass this. Split comma. Okay. So I want to split that, and now with this file RDD will create will basically contain the data of all the columns, but it will contain the words which are split based on the comma. So now I will have all these 3 columns values separated here. Now once I have this, I can basically use this file RDD to do further operations. So see, I want to first count the number of bad records. How do I first find out whether there is a bad record or not in this example? We know that the third column should always have an integer because it's an age column, right? So age will always contain integer. If it contains anything other than integer, that means it's a character. We refer that as a bad character, so or bad record. So the easier way to find it out is, let's say if I try to convert this column value into integer. There is an API available through which if you convert this column value into integer, if it is a character, it will throw an error saying that cannot convert this into integer. It's a number format exception. Okay, just like Java concept. Since I have a character in this column and if I try to convert it into integer, definitely it will throw me a number format exception. So based on that, I can find it out, yes, if there is any whether this record is a bad record or not. And in this example, I'm also going to show you how to handle exceptions in Scala. Okay, so that way it will be easy for you to even see that code. I mean, you can refer it later in future. So I'll be doing something like this, bad. Okay, let me first do this. File dot. For each records in the file RDD, what I'm trying to do, I am basically trying to excuse me, yeah, I'm trying to do the conversion of this try and catch stuff. So I'm sure all of you are aware of what is try catch. It's for catching the exceptions in case if your code throws an error. So I'll just check if x of 2, what is the column index? 0, 1 and 2. That means the third column, if I want to convert the value of that third column into integer, if it contains character, it should throw an error. That is the logic I'm applying here. So I'm just saying try x2 dot to int. Okay, you just convert it into this. If it throws error, I want to catch it. So you will just say something like this. Okay, by the way, just for the readability purpose, let me write it this way so that it's easier for you to understand what we are doing. This is try catch. Okay, in the catch block, I'll do something like this. If it's an exception, okay, which is, let's say, number format exception, then I would basically increment that value. So I'll just say bad records plus 1 plus 1. Okay, so I know it will be little difficult to understand this code what I'm writing, but as and when you practice more in Scala, it will be easier to understand. Okay, so this is one transformation that you are applying on the file RDD. Okay, file RDD will basically have something like this. So let me just show you here itself by writing this. So this was my file RDD. Okay, it basically contains 3 columns: first name, last name, and age. First name, last name, NAs. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll do that. So let's assume there are two records, okay? And let me write, let's say P, Q, and 10. Let's say these are the three records. This is my file RDD, right? Now what I have done here in my code, I'll just say file dot for each. That means for every record, okay, in this RDD, this, and this, I'm going to apply this. I'm going to apply the for each transformation. And what is the for each transformation? For each transformation say for every x means every record, every object in this RDD, x will refer each record like this. So for every x, I'm saying try and catch. I'm saying x of 2 dot 2 int, which means I'm trying to convert this record dot 2, which means the third column data. It's a zero base index, so this is 0, 1, and 2. Third column data I'll get, and I'll convert it into integer. If it is integer, there will not be any exception generated. It's absolutely fine. But if there is an integer, then there is a problem. So right now, if it is an integer, no problem. But if it is not an integer, right, just like this, let's say in this case, I have m, which is a character. So when you try to convert character into integer, it will definitely throw an exception. And the exception will be, so when it throws, it will come to this block, catch. And you are saying case E, which means if any exception, if that exception is number format exception, do this, which means if whatever exception, any exception might be thrown, but because of this, because of 2 int operation, only number format exception will be thrown. So once it matches this, I am just saying increment this bad records accumulator. It's a variable, it's like a counter, so you are incrementing that. So for every record, wherever this column does not convert it into integer, we are going to increment the counter. And finally, what happens once it completes, you can just say total bad records. Okay, so I'll get the count of total number of bad records once it completes. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm basically reading a file which is bad data, splitting it based on comma, so I get a file RDD which will hold values in this fashion, and then for every records here in this RDD, I am going to basically apply a try catch block. I am basically converting third column into integer to check if it is something else. If there is any bad value, I'll throw that exception, so I'll increment a bad record counter, so that I'll consider that record as a bad record, and I want to finally print total number of records which are bad in this file. This is the application. This is the usage of how an accumulator can be used as counters in Spark. So is this concept clear, everyone? Any question here? Not really, Raj, because the accumulator is like a global variable across. See, in Spark, you remember the architecture, different different Spark tasks are created and then executed on different machines in a distributed way. So if you define a normal variable, it will not give you the exact count in a distributed environment, right? This accumulator is like a global copy. Yes. Yes. Any further questions on this? Anyone has? So let me execute it and show you how we can. Okay, so I have created a jar. I want to bring it to this Hadoop cluster, or I would say Spark cluster. Here I already have a data available here in the SDFS, so I can directly use Spark master accumulator test. I'll say copy qualified name and paste it here. This is my accumulator.jar. Let us execute this and see the result. So as you can see that it has printed total bad records are 2. No, Swadip, the same example you can use it in real world scenario also. You don't really need to be, if you really know how many records are bad in which cluster, then what is the point of using the accumulators? You can right away go and just remove those records from this file. The whole point of using this is basically, right, so if this is how you can find it out. For example, if your file is distributed in multiple machines, in multiple blocks, and then if you use an accumulator, right, so it will give you a count on entire file. How many, if you want to find out which block has a wrong data, you can't do that. You cannot find it out that because it's a block. It's a native block which is stored on a local machines. So ultimately you need to just find out how many records are bad and you can just directly remove it from the file. So this exercise is to find it out across different machines how many records are bad. Yes, so it's not which record is bad in which cluster, which record is bad in which machine. I think that's what you are trying to ask. And that is something nobody can find it out. Because the problem is that will be there in the block, right? A file will be distributed. For example, let's say I have this same, let's assume this is my file only. Okay, this is the file data itself, and I have stored it in SDFS. So this could be block 1, block 2, and block 3. Okay, so which means block 1 can be here, block 2 can be here, and block 3 can be here. So you can't say that okay, block 1 will have this bad record, block 2 has this and this. At the best, what you can do is you can just tell overall in the file how many bad records are there. The reason being the entire block level details are internal to SDFS. Spark cannot get that information. Spark can process entire details in a distributed way and then gives the result to the driver. So driver will finally display it. Yes, Odip, but what name you want to put it? You will not have access to the block ID itself, right? Programmatically. Yes, Odip, go ahead. Yes, Odip, I have unmuted you. You can speak now.
Thank you, Jamin.
Yes.
Basically, my question was like, for example, if we have tens of millions of records and we have found out like 5 records are bad. So, I mean, that count is really does not mean anything to me unless I find out which records actually have the bad data and I can go and correct it.
Absolutely, absolutely right. That is possible. Okay, I didn't. I thought that you're asking a question that which record is bad in which block.
Right,
That is
right.
not
Yeah,
possible.
what I mean to say is that unless I get the key, of the record, I won't be able to figure it out like where I have to go and correct it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can directly print that entire record only. That is possible. Yes, yes. This entire record, once you get the exception, you can just take that particular record and keep accumulating it in some kind of an array, or it could be a different RDD where you can keep accumulating it, and then just put that RDD dot save as text file. You can save it as one file, or you can print it. You can do collect. So yes, that is possible. I mean, you can always be able to find out not only the count but also which record is bad. That is possible. Sure, no problem. It's fine. Thanks, Swadip. Okay. I think there is one more question. Okay, Deepak. Okay, fine. Yeah, Deepak, sure. I'll quickly go through it. So basically, Deepak, what we are trying to do is I have actually given you an example where, let's say I have a file, okay, and I wanted to find out how many records are bad in this file. I'll show you the data of the file so that we can understand it better. Yeah, this is my file data, and I want to find out how many records are bad. And when we say bad, if you can see third column, there is a character data, which is an age column, and there are two records which have a character instead of the age printed there. So that's a bad record for me. So that is what I wanted to find out. Okay. So basically, I wanted to do this. I'm actually reading the file, then iterating through every record in that file and checking the third column, converting into integer. If I'm able to convert it, I'm good. If not, I would definitely get an exception number format. I'll increment my accumulator, which is a global level counter, and then I'll print the total bad records like this. So is that clear, Deepak? That's how basically we can use a accumulator. Deepak, are you clear? Yes, it could be done only through accumulator. That is the reason why we should use an accumulator here. All right, cool. One more concept, a broadcast variable. People who attended Hadoop training should know we have covered something called map join, right? Map side join. So map side join, where we actually use the concept called distributed cache. So what we used to do, quickly, very high level. Just 1 second, sorry. Let me cancel this. Yeah, so I had two files, for example, and let's say this is file 1 and this is file 2, and I used to basically join them where I'm not really going to explain you map side join, so it's just a quick reminder for everyone. So let's say the bigger file data, large file data is available here, and then the smaller file data. So when you want to join these two files data, okay, basically you are trying to use a map site join where you are using a distributed cache concept. So what we used to do, we used to transfer this entire small file to the local cache of every machine here, so that we can read the entire data of that file into the memory, right? So let's not worry about the join technique here, but what I wanted to say is we were using a distributed cache of MapReduce where you could put any file in that cache area of the any machine, and then we could read it from the main memory of that task of the mapper task. Now the same thing can be done in Spark as well. You can put entire file or some variable which has lot of data. That variable you can put it into the cache of every machine, so that it will be accessible in memory in a faster manner. For example, broadcast variable is doing that same exact thing. It is being broadcasted by the driver to all the Spark slave, and that's where it is being loaded in the memory. So something like this. It allows to keep a read-only variable cached on every machine. Can be used for every node where copy of large input data sets can be efficiently read in memory. Okay, and this is how you do it. So you just say sc.sparkcontext.broadcast and give anything that you want to broadcast. It could be a file data in the form of RDD. It could be any array or any list or any other data structure with values. When you create this broadcast variable, you can access it using broadcast variable.value, and you can do many operations on that. So what I'm trying to highlight a point is, once you broadcast any particular variable data, reading that variable data will be very fast, because automatically it will be put it in the local cache of every machine by the Spark, right? So whenever you have a need of, let's say, joining multiple files, and you think that one of the file data you want to completely load it in memory each time when you do join, then better do broadcasting for that file, so that it will be available in local cache of every machine and it can be read it by every other program. Okay, so that's about broadcast variable. Broadcast variable is simple. It just broadcasts it to different machines so that you can use it, you can read it from the cache. So we will just get the benefit when you actually run this program and see the performance, and that you can do it. You can only get the performance idea when you run it on a larger data set, right? So broadcast is nothing but just broadcast your data to all the machines and put it in the local cache of that machine, so that when you want to use it, it will be read it from the cache, so that, and it will be doing it in a faster manner. So these are the two concepts which I wanted to cover: accumulators and broadcast, two basic way of sharing any variables in Spark. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear. Any questions anybody has? So Dipto, it means that you are basically reading the entire B data into memory anytime you need it, it doesn't compute it. It will be available in the cache of every machine, so it can be read it in a faster manner. Performance-wise, it will be faster. Okay. Just the same as map site join concept. You just think of it as using a file in distributed cache. Okay, so Deepa, what we are doing is we have two files, file A and file B. You are saying one file, if I put it using broadcast, what does it mean? That means that file directly gets copied. Let's say this file F2 will be copied in all of this machine's cache area. So when I want to join these two files, I would have written some Spark programs and some RDDs to join that. So that time, whenever you read a file, it doesn't go to disk. It will be available in the cache, so it can be read it faster in the memory. That's the whole idea. Okay. If it is there in the disk, it will involve. It has to read every record from the file in the disk, and there will be a lot of disk I/O involved first time. But here, it will be, since it is available in cache, and it will be there for a longer period because you are broadcasting it now to all the machines. So wherever you need it, it just goes to the cache and pick it up. It doesn't need to basically. So it doesn't take too much time actually while reading it from the disk. And this is just one application that we discussed. Let's say, for example, you have another application where you want to, let's say, share a value of a particular variable to all your Spark tasks. That is also doable using broadcast variable. So you just broadcast it so that that value is broadcasted to all the tasks. For example, here, if your, let's say, Spark task is running here, here, and here, and then I want to supply one value which can be used by all these tasks. So the driver can broadcast this value. Let's say value V is available here in all of these tasks in the cache of this machine, so that they can directly read it and they can use it. So it is one way of sharing a value basically across all the tasks. Yes, any further questions anybody has on this? So Swadeep, actually what I would suggest is next week I'll take this buffer of 15-20 minutes, which we did not use today, and I wanted to cover something which is a new topic. So today it doesn't really make sense to cover a new topic because I want to start afresh, and that's where we can actually cover a new topic tomorrow, not tomorrow, basically the next week. So we can extend the session there so that we can complete it accordingly. Okay. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine actually. We can in fact do it. Uh, I can continue it right away. Only thing is, if I continue probably another half an hour also, if I continue, it would not really be enough for you, and then you might want me to repeat it next time when we meet. That's the reason why I'm thinking that we should start a new topic on the next week. We don't really need to start early, Swadip, because it's not really possible for everyone. What we can do is rather we can actually cut down on the breaks, and we can adjust it accordingly. I think that should work with everyone. And that will not be really needed, but what I'm trying to say is it's just for the time saving that what we have lost today, so that we can compensate it for the next session. Because we are going as planned, and I don't see much problem. Yeah, I'm just saying cut down on that. It's fine. Yeah, sure, no problem. So what we have done as of now is we have completed the entire Spark core and Scala, of course. So we have understood how to write Scala programs, how to write Java programs for Spark, and solve multiple problems. We have seen various problems, various concepts in Spark core. Now what we'll be doing is we'll be just building on top of that. So now it's all ecosystem. So we can actually finish it fast because now your base is strong. So we can actually build on top of that. Now we just need to leverage what are the ways to access those components and how to work with that component. Because underlying you'll be still writing the Spark core. I mean, you'll be using all the Spark core like RDDs, pair RDDs, and all the transformations and actions that we have learned so far. It will not be different. Only difference that you are going to see is what extra wrapper concepts that Spark SQL provides. Spark SQL is definitely interesting, and we'll cover it. Then same way other ecosystem like Spark Streaming or ML, we'll be talking about them. We'll understand how do we do real-time streaming in Spark Streaming. So we'll take one example and understand that. Same way we'll take one example in Spark ML and understand how to do ML programming using Spark. So as I said, underneath the programming is the same that we have understood as of now. So that's why I've covered this in detail so that now you can easily visualize is what we are doing. Actually, need to know what is that, and then it will be easy for us to understand those programs. So any questions as of now? Anybody have? So actually this session I wanted to keep it this way because it's good to have some program. Oh sure, Dipto, no problem. Let me do that. Go ahead.
Audible?
Yes, Dipto, you're audible. Dipto, are you speaking?
Okay. Jamin, my question is, suppose we define a function, okay, some our own user-defined function. So how can we use those functions on top of, on this RDDs? Because like map, reduce by key, and all these are all already predefined. So if we define a function for our own use, how can we use that function on top of any RDD?
Oh, okay, okay. So that is actually basically you are asking how do I write my custom RDD? The question is like that.
Yeah.
So you want to basically write your own custom transformations and custom actions. So for that you need to override the RDD functionalities. You have to write your own custom RDD class, implement some of the important transformations, basic transformations, and then write your own custom one and then use it. So it's more like extending the Spark framework and overriding some of its functionality and customizing it to your need. Then you can use it. So it's a valid use case, and people do that.
Okay. Okay. But other than this, if we say that we have map and we have reduce by key and these functions, so apart from that, there is there is not much use of Scala, right?
No, I mean there are a lot of like see map is there. I mean there are see I think earlier sessions if you remember we have seen lot more transformations, right? You have seen filter and even I need to check the examples that we have covered. But there are so I mean Scala means like the way of programming, right? So right now I'm doing it this way, this program in Scala. So as you can see, so for see the transformation when it comes to transformation or action, it's not Scala, it is Spark, right? It is an RDD. So Scala doesn't give anything, doesn't have to do anything with that. It's
Right.
a Spark which provides that. So Scala is just like a programming language which we have learned so far.
Why
So
I'm
I'm showing you. Yeah.
because there are a lot of things like anonymous functions and all, like the way we have passed x arrow x dot split. So this is a split, but if I want to use some other functions defined in some other way, so there is not much such use cases that I can see.
No, you can pass it. For example, here, I mean, if you really want to not call, let's say file dot for each is a transformation, or let's say file dot map. In map, you can write your custom function, which we have already seen, if you remember, right? So that is like passing your custom function, which we do it typically. This is one custom function only. What I'm highlighting here is a custom function,
Okay.
which I'm passing it on for each.
Okay.
So I am just defining it as an inline function, but you can also write it as a separate. You can do def function, whatever your custom function name, write that entire logic and then call it here. That is also possible. So that way, anyway, we have been doing it for all our programs, earlier programs, if you can refer it. So that way it is possible. I was thinking you are saying that instead of this for each, can I do, let's say, file dot, XYZ? That XYZ is my own custom transformation.
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. In fact, that even.
Yeah. So for that, you need to actually extend the RDD class from Scala, from Spark basically, not Scala, and then you need to override that. So that is definitely like you are basic. You need to know the framework level APIs. What are the basic methods that you need to first override, and then you can define your own transformation here, and then you can call it here.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamin.
Yeah, sure. Yes, any further questions anybody has? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one thing, which is polling. It's not really required every day, but simply learn mandates us to do it every day. So hence, it's a formality sake we need to do it. If you can just complete the polling, please. All right. Any further questions anybody has? Yes, Raj, definitely I will share this code. As usual, I'll be sharing it after every session. So you will have this. Okay, so if no questions, we can call it a day. Thank you, everyone. And really thank you for your patience for first half an hour because we couldn't start on time, but we'll buffer it out next session. We'll compensate that. So you will definitely not miss anything. Yes, Deepto, that's right. That's correct. We are yet to finalize things, but yes, you are right. That's true. In April, actually, he is asking me to come there, so probably we may meet there. Sure, yeah. I'm looking forward for that too. Thank you. Yes, yes, he actually mentioned that. So thank you so much for that. Sure, yeah. All right, everyone. So with that note, thank you. Have a great day and great week ahead. We'll meet next week and we'll learn all the ecosystem components of Spark. So see you in the next week. Goodbye.